150 years ago, the first ever breech-loading side-by-side shotgun was produced, and over the last 150 years we've seen big development. However, it's fair to say that about 100 years ago, development kind of reached a pinnacle with the side lock and the box lock being built as best as they could. However, more recently, let's say the last 20 years, we've seen a resurgence of makers producing side-by-sides to a more modern spec, not only in features but also in build quality. Guns that can take abuse, side-by-sides that are built for the modern world of high-pressure steel shots. And I've got three in front of me today, three Fabarms, an Autumn Elite, a Classis Grade 4, and the new Infinite RS. And we're going to have a little look at what Fabarm is putting on the market now. Which of the specs is my preference, since we have everything from a straight stock Splinter all the way through to the new RS, which I can't wait to take you guys through. It's pretty wacky. But before we do that, I'm going to bang a couple of shots through each of these before, I guess, breaking them down and seeing what these guns offer individually. We're going to kick off with the Autumn Elite. I saw this at the British Shooting Show and was kind of keen to give it a go. We've got a Beavertail forend. This one's in 20 gauge, pistol grip. I mean, we're going to deep dive later. Let's have a few shots through it. The fact it's a 20 excites me a little. The fact that it's $3.5 grand, I don't think that's that unreasonable. We'll explain that later. All right, I'm going to shoot a pair of trailing bees, a little bird curling down the bank. Right, well, we've found it. You have to get this thing moving. First impressions, light, snappy, not an ideal clay gun, unsurprisingly. Takes an awful lot of sort of movement and inertia, but when you give it a push, it goes like lightning. Not too calculated, but you could say that for the majority of game spec side-by-sides. That's why I prefer the sort of old pigeon guns and old wildfowl guns. Bigger, heavier barrels. Swing a little bit more naturally to me. However, for a little point and shoot pokey gun, so far, well, I'm looking forward to shooting it a bit more later, but let's get the next gun. This is the Classis Grade 4. It's a side-plated trigger plate action gun. A little bigger, it's a 12 bore, but with straight hand stock and Splinter forend. In terms of profile, a lot more classical. We've got some sporting 100s for this today. It's currently running half and quarter choke. So at this range, we should turn that into a bit more dust than we did with the 20 bore. Oh, that feels just like a side-by-side should. Instinctive, swingy, pointable. These are not a particularly heavy recoiling shell, but with the hard plate and the overall lightweight of a shade over 7 pounds, you do feel the recoil through it a little more than I did in the 21 grams in that big 20 bore. Having a pistol grip, I'm definitely getting ahead of myself, but having a pistol grip, you do take a bit of recoil in the hand. It's one of the best recoil reducers as a pistol grip over a straight hand, and again, a palm swell, even more so again. Now onto the big boy, the brand new model. This is the Fabarm Infinite RS, a clay-specific side-by-side. There are not many of these on the market, and Fabarm have launched this for those who enjoy shooting side-by-side competitions, or just someone who wants something a little bit different, and it is different. Monte Carlo adjustable, full pistol grip, Beavertail forend, and the RS rib, which you can change. Let's see if this is as calculated and as over and under-like as I think it should be. Oh, wow, okay. Just missed my first two clays with it. That is not a gun that moves how I thought it would move. Try shooting it like the side-by-side that it is. Oh, that's sweet. Immediately on picking this up, I thought, yeah, it's big, it's heavy, let's shoot it like a big, heavy, calculated gun, but actually sits a little bit more like middle of the road than that. Still had to shoot that swing through, still moved really nicely. I thought, big ugly gun, let's shoot it with big ugly moves, a bit more maintained, a bit more diminishing. But immediate impressions is this is way more rounded a gun than I gave it credit for. Out of the box, at least. Let's break these guns down. I was going to work through these in price order, but actually I'm going to work through from gaminess or traditional British to completely less traditional. Price-wise, by the way, Ultimate 3.5, Classis Grade 4, 4.5, Infinite RS, 4 grand. They're not cheap guns, but actually in the offerings of modern side-by-sides, they're not terribly priced. In fact, relatively competitively priced given what you get on one of these. I've always thought that they were not bad value for a side-by-side in the modern market, all things considered. Starting with this, the Classis Grade 4. This is, as I said, the traditional looking gun, and shooting it just now, just having 5 or 6 shots, it is a traditional shooting gun. Comes very naturally to the shoulder. That dropped scalloped rib we've got on the barrel sort of disappears out of view, and you can just get on and use your eyes to point through a target. Not going to be that good when it comes to shooting extreme targets or extremely high birds, but for traditional game shooting and most average club level plays, this is going to be on the money. Before I get into any more specs, I think it's probably worth looking at the action underneath, which is the same on all of them. So to do that, we're going to pop the fore end off. The fore end is done by a traditional button push at the front and could be tight. Could be about the only thing I'm going to say about one of these is the fore ends can be tight. Removing a traditional splinter fore end takes a little bit more effort and a bit of technique. You need to harden up your thumbs and learn to dig it underneath and pull where there's nothing to sort of grab hold of. If we take the barrels off, we start to see some interesting stuff about this gun, and the Classis action, the Autumn action, the Fabarm side-by-side action is insanely robust. It's also kind of interesting. There's only one other gun that has this independent 4-lug concept or twin-sided concept, and that is a Dixon, I think. What that means is you've got 2 hinges and 2 locking lugs and a lot of surface area, meaning that this gun is extremely robust. The barrels on this, before I'm going to get ahead of myself once again, are steel proofed all the way up to full choke, and it's a 3-inch magnum chamber, meaning you could run pretty much any modern steel through this gun regardless of choke without any issues. Luckily, the action can take those big bombs as well. All of this extra locking surface, all of this extra face-on surface is going to give you more wear resistance. It also gives you full independence side by side and should, over a long enough timeline, just provide you more reliability, less wear, and it's just a bit cooler, isn't it? It does add a bit of weight. Obviously, there's more metal there than there would be on a traditional side-by-side style lockup. That's no bad thing. The ejectors, big and heavy. The lockup, big and heavy. It adds quite a bit of weight to the middle of this gun, which does make it a few ounces heavier than some of its competitors. However, that weight being in the middle, we've said it 1,000 times, is no bad thing. It's no bad thing. It's not like having a pound hanging off the front or a pound hanging out the back. It is directly between the hands. If we look in the action here, you've got your 4 holes, 2 hinges, 2 locking lug holes, and another hole in the middle that takes these ejector bits. They actually go in there, and that's what draws the gun closed. The whole thing is over-engineered, and I hate that term, but it is over-robust, more robust than one might think. I said that there is a couple of other models out there. I'm just thinking there's a few obscure guns that do have this sort of 4-lug concept, or double-sided concept at least, but it's rare and it's super solid. A lot of people don't like putting in their guns because, firstly, this takes a lot of work to make and to regulate nicely. Fabarm's engineering is exceptional, right? It is exceptional. For a company whose guns, you never think Fabarm and go, yeah, top-end premium gun, but they are built to an exceptional standard. And it's not fair on Fabarm to say that, but, you know, they've got Guarini as their big brother, and we all think of that when we think exceptional quality, but these guns, in my opinion, are certainly engineered to very similar tolerances. You'd never pick up a Fabarm and go, that's junky. They are solidly built guns, especially their side-by-sides. The top lever drops on this big button in the back. That just drops your top lever forward and the bite, and you can see the double-sided bite there, just providing you a little bit more strength and width than any other side-by-side out there, or most other side-by-sides out there. The trigger on this one is fixed. I believe on the RS it is adjustable. Automatic safety with a selector. The safety is elongated. It's definitely longer than safeties on other guns, or maybe it's just an optical illusion, but it's nice, it's svelte, I don't hate it, it doesn't stick up, it's not obtuse. The top lever is a little shorter than perhaps the lines would dictate if we're going to pick perfect gun geometry, but it's not hard to open and close in the slightest, so we're not really going to complain about that at all. The Classis Grade 4 is this model. It's a side-plated model, as I said, a laser engraved with some gold inlay. You've got a pointing dog and some chuckers on the side there, or French partridge potentially, and you've got another longer haired pointing dog and a couple of pheasants on the other side, all surrounded by lilies and loose acanthus. It's nice, it's modern, but it's respectful of traditions. For the price point, I'd say it was a very pretty gun. The engraving is done to a nice depth. Yeah, no complaints. For me personally, I love these bouquets of lilies. I think they're lilies, I'm not really a flowery guy. On the bottom, I think that's just a good looking thing, and I like the fact that the acanthus has a modern twist to it. The stock is a grade 4 piece of wood, oil finished in a gloss finish with laser checkering finished in a walnut heel plate. For me, if it was against tradition, given that this is a lighter side-by-side, I'd probably opt to put a rubber recoil pad on there for game shooting if you're going to be shooting over an ounce load, especially if you're going to be putting some big steel bombs through this. A rubber recoil pad would be your friend. It's got a long trigger tang with a rounded point. It's definitely got an Italian feel to it, and that's because it's an Italian gun. I think a lot of us, when we look at side-by-sides, we picture something like a Holland Royal and go, that's what everything has to be up to, but that's our world. If you look at classic Italian side-by-sides, the look, feel and shape of this is much more in line with that, and well, that's okay. It's just a slightly different school of thought. They're tapered 18.4 tri-bore barrels, as I've said, and this particular one has a scalloped rib with a silver bead sight in the front, and internal chokes. One presumes you could get the extended chokes if you really wanted to be obtuse, but it's nice, it's definitely nice. You have a little bit of muzzle swell, just because of the barrel design, to take those chokes, to give you extra strength at the end when you're whacking steel shot through a full choke. By the way, just because you can doesn't mean you should with that. If you are making the transition to steel shot, which we're all going to have to do in a few years' time, pattern plate your gun. Pattern plate it with your favourite game shell if you've never done it, and then change your chokes and your load, trying a few different things to get it right pattern-wise. I was out last season with my DT, put loose chokes in it with Hydra Wad 32-4s, which I've killed some great pheasants with, and the first drive didn't really go to plan. I then wound a pair of quarters in, or a pair of 3/8s in, and we were back on the money making good, clean kills. I didn't take the time to pattern plate that before I went out, and it cost me a drive and a couple of birds I had to double barrel, which is not the way it should be. It's a learning experience moving to steel. It's not the same as lead, but it's still very efficient out to that 40-45 yard mark, providing you set it up right. These full chokes will give you a steam train pattern at that longer range and optimize for longer range, but at close range you're going to have a very dense pattern. But perhaps that is something we're going to try another day and really work out what those patterns look like when you have the ability to go to full choke, which, like I said, maybe for clay shooting in the future that is the option with steel, but we'll figure that out when we have a full day and some ballistic gel and a bit of time to just geek out over science. Other than that, not a lot to say. Engraved forendine at the back. Inside the forendine you see the two independent ejector kickers there, and you see the little locking latch at the front. This is greased, that makes it easier to come off. Good gun servicing and good gun maintenance is important when you have a splinter forend gun, or in fact any gun. I do love this Fabarm action. It's really nicely made. It's big, but that's good. It's good that it's big. It means that it's strong, and it's well built. It's not just strong and badly built. It's a good double whammy. Not any problems I've heard with this particular action, and that's good, because most actions come up with some issue now and again. But I guess making something doubly as strong as it needs to be is a good thing, generally speaking. For 4,500, I don't actually begrudge that. I don't think that's bad value. That's how much that gun should be. Taking a step up or a step sideways, we've got the Autumn Elite. This is a 20 gauge, 12 gauges will become available at some point if they're not already. Gold fixed trigger, gold pheasants on this side, gold quail on the other side. It's got the scroll back action, and I actually really like this scroll back. Not super detailed, but enough that you don't just have a flat backed box lock, which, given the quality of modern machining, is a kind of unnecessary thing, I think, in this day and age. If you can. There is something nice about a flat back box lock, but neither here nor there, is it? I like the way it looks. It certainly helps the way this gun looks in terms of overall aesthetic flow. It is a 20 gauge with a pistol grip and a beaver tail forend. The beaver tail forend is longer than the Classis Splinter. It is wide. You can see how it wraps around those barrels. That's just going to give you more to play with in your left hand. Certainly if you're shooting a lot of shells, the heat won't touch your fingers quite so much. You won't have to wear a left-hand glove quite so readily. And I actually like the way that this flows back in. It's taken me a little readjustment period to the whole concept of a beaver tail forward on a side-by-side, but when they're done right, I actually prefer it. It's a grade down in wood. I think they class this as a grade 2 or grade 3, but honestly, I think it's a stunning piece of wood for the fact that this gun is 3,500. If you didn't need side plates, you could save yourself £1,000 and get the gun in a similar spec. I don't think that's going to be sad for you. Again, tri-bore barrels, steel proofed up to some choke. I'd love to try it in a 12 bore. I think where you've got the midweight of that big, dense 4-lug action, even in a 20 gauge, and the bigger grip and the bigger forend, there could be too much weight between the hands, not enough out the front. So what I found there is I really had to put a lot of work in to keep it moving. Similar to, let's say this was a 25-inch gun, something like that. That's no bad thing, and you get used to it pretty quick, as I did there. It just took me a few shots where I lazily pushed the gun, expecting it to just carry on in front of the target, and it didn't do that. 20 gauge? Everyone likes 20 gauge, right? Given that 20 gauge loads are in lead, just as developed up to that sort of 30, 32 gram mark, and not at any serious disadvantage, there, 20 gauge is as viable as ever. And in terms of sub-gauge guns for non-toxic or non-lead ammunition, 20 gauge is going to be the first one to get all of those improvements that we've seen following the 12 gauges as we see those develop steel, bladesmith, and tungsten-wise. Obviously, over time, we're going to see the 28s and 410s develop, and there's been a few things, certainly stateside, that we've seen, and a few people in Italy experimenting with sub-gauge non-toxics, trying to get them right. But 20 gauge, I'd say that was pretty safe. 24, sorry. Bang in the middle price-wise, but a complete wild card design-wise is this. The Fabarm Infinite RS. This is something else. Like, it really is in the something else categories. We've got a big soft recoil pad on the back, oil finish woodwork, Monte Carlo stock with adjustable comb. The Fabarm adjustable comb system is not the easiest to set up, but once it's set up, it is superbly strong. You've got lock-in points. It's undeniably a faff to set up, but once it is set up, it is there. And I guess the reality is with an adjustable comb is once you've set it up, you should be leaving it. And so spending a little bit longer once is not the end of the world. We got a big full pistol grip with palm swell. It feels very much like a clay gun grip should. We've got manual safety, still with the selector on top, because it's designed for clays. Adjustable trigger in black. The whole action is blacked. We've got the infinity sign with RS and the Fabarm logo. RS is in blue just to denote that this is a clay gun. We might as well have some wild colours on it, although it's done subtly enough that kind of works, actually, given that that's the last thing you look at when you look at this beast of a gun. We've got a beaver tail forend, a QRR rib on top, currently set up with a 50-50. Cool feature to have. A lot of it, by the way, isn't to do with the fact that it's quick detachable. It's the fact that it's weight saving. Attaching a steel rib of this height and size to a barrel would be heavy. This is aluminium, and so doesn't weigh that much. This model is a 32-inch, the others are 30-inch, other barrel lengths are obviously available. It's £4,000, as I've said. There's both a lot of money for a bit of a niche gun, but not a lot of money if you look at the other offerings in the market and what's actually available in the quality new clay-specific side-by-side with a high rib and all these bits. You probably have to spend a little bit more to get anything else quite like this new, and so I guess that denotes that it's good value in the niche. I'm not saying this is, you know, the new sliced bread or anything, but it's pretty cool, and I can definitely imagine a few people out there taking them out on the clay circuit to side-by-side competitions, or just people who want to go and have fun. It's okay to have fun. £4,000 might be a little bit too much to just go and have fun, but not to a lot of people, and so you can't really say anything bad about it. It's all a matter of perspective, right? this is a super cool toy to have in the cabinet. But without further ado, I think we've broken them down well enough and looked at some cool technical features. I mean, that 4-lug lockup is good. Imagine this gun without that extra depth in the action. Obviously, it does make the action a little bigger and wider than some others. That's really good when it comes to the RS, and actually not that noticeable when it comes to the other models. In fact, somewhat beneficial. Realistically, it allows this gun, with its 30-inch barrels, although the weight balance is a little bit forward, it didn't feel it in the shooting. It really didn't feel it in the shooting. Balance-wise on this Autumn Elite, we've got a little bit further back, but still pretty similar. What's wild is this one felt front heavy, but handles super neutral. This one didn't feel in any way front heavy in the shooting, which is, I mean, pretty wild, right? And one presumes that it's just because the weight in that forend iron, the weight in the action, just keeps that weight where it should be. Perhaps a little too stabby, but there's no such thing as too stabby. Less controlled, less smooth, more instinctive, more, I imagine if you were out shooting walked up or snap shooting something, this is exactly what you want. This is why there are so many different types of guns, because there's so many different types of shooting. Certainly when it comes to hunting guns, field guns, sporting guns, there are so many different types of bird hunting or small game hunting, ground game hunting, that there needs to be different guns that suit different types of people and their different applications across the world, not just here in sunny England. Balance point on this beast, interestingly, I guess it's not so much about balance point versus where the trigger is, but inherently how it feels in the hand. Handling is probably more important than balance, technical balance. I've said that before. Still haven't invented a way to figure that one out. But it doesn't feel, it definitely feels like you've got more left hand than the other guns, but it's not front heavy enough to do some of the sort of more front heavy gun shooting styles that I had thought it would. It is very neutral to move, very pleasant to shoot. Speaking of which, let's go and shoot them. I'm going to start with a 20 ball, mostly so I can use up these 20 gauge cartridges. It's important saying that whenever you mix guns, and we don't ever say this enough, regardless of how experienced you are, regardless of how careful you are, never ever mix the two calibers. It stresses me out to do 12 and 20 guns at the same time. It is impressive what these little 20 ball cartridges will break. 20, 21 gram fiber wad, they're still a solid shell, but it's even more impressive if you drop it into a 12 ball and put a 12 ball cartridge behind it, and that acts as a cartridge blocker. Worst case scenario is you end up splitting the barrel. Double worst case scenario is you blow your left hand off as the pressure comes out of the bottom. Even with these super strong barrels, it's not a mistake you want to make. It is not a mistake you want to make. So we're going to shoot the Autumn Elite first. Initial thoughts were a bit stabby. Let's see if that stands. We've got a trap bird and a nice 30-yard rolling crosser. Interestingly, the selector has 1 dot and 2 dots. Usually it'd be 2 dots for top barrel, 1 dot for bottom barrel, but it's 1 dot for right barrel, 2 dots for left barrel, given that with a side-by-side usually you would shoot that right barrel first, traditionally. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's see what 21 grams can do, baby. Definitely have to put a lot more input in than a big heavy 12 bore. Instinctively just go there, bang, there, bang. Well, not quite so much with the second shot. I really had to control the move, but as long as you're prepared to put the input in and you know, don't overdrive it, just actually control it. Gave that one too much lead, too much move. Let's try and just shoot it gun down, shoot it like a game gun. Imagine there's a couple of birds in the air. Second shot was nice, first shot, less nice. This gun doesn't fit like perfectly. Just mounted the gun wrong, shot out of the top left-hand side. But if we shoot that A-bird a couple of times using stood-on peg style, much nicer. I thoroughly enjoyed shooting my fused shells with this gun. We'll add the weight there because I don't actually know it. And my presumption is that it would be just under 7 pounds. The fact that it's a little heavier and you've got the pistol grip and the beaver tail, I kind of assumed that it would be a more modern feeling gun, a bit smoother, a bit slower, a bit more clay-y, a bit more sportery. But actually, even though you've got those things, it still demands to be shot like a little 20 gauge. Some people will like that, some people won't. The grips feel lovely. That was my biggest takeaway. I really love that pistol grip and that beaver tail forward on the 20. feel great. They're spec'd really well. I imagine if you put a 32-inch set of barrels and a raised filed rib on there, that would change that gun into being a little bit more sportery, but still have some of those features. If we're going to get like picky and asking Fabarm to make something custom and cool, that would be my one change. Next is the Classis Grade 4. I'm pretty sure I've got this gun figured out in a few shots. It feels like a big square barred side-by-side should. Nice bit of midweight, bit more than usual, but that's counteracted by the overall extra weight in the stock and the barrels over what we'd consider a classic square bar side lock. I know it's a side plate, but meh. Let's see if I can shoot it and switch onto just classic side-by-side mode. Well, I guess there's inherently nothing exciting about it just being a classic side-by-side feeling gun, but it's a good thing, right? Not everything needs to be ridiculous like the Infinite RS. You can not break the recipe ever forever, and that be quite a good thing. It is as normal a side-by-side as you're gonna get. I don't really have anything more to say about it than that. It moves well, it swings well. It is a little heavier than some side-by-sides, but I don't mind that, to be fair. Put a rubber pad on there, just shooting that A-bird, inserting behind it, nice smooth swing as you would with a crossing pheasant. Feel super confident with it. Yeah, I mean, it's a recipe that's as old as time itself, right? Just a side-by-side shotgun. The fact it's pretty and steel-proofed up to full choke is just a benefit. I mean, that's it, right? We could try and find something else to say about it, but I think that's enough. I'm going to shoot a couple more pairs with it. I like it. I like it. Nothing wrong with tradition at all. The time has come for the big boy. There's a lot of pressure on this Infinite RS. I think with a gun that looks like this, it's got to perform. It has to perform. If you turn up with a gun like this, you've got to... It's probably the first time to take it out without audience and learn it a little. But yeah, we're going to do our learning right now. Those first few shots took some adjustment from the other guns. I mean, it puts a smile on my face. I mean, the confidence shooting this gun. That other side-by-side, certainly the crosser, just addressed it like a pheasant and shot it, but it was all quite slow. In a sporting clay scenario where there's a bit more urgency to just get on and break it, this automatically feels like a better clay gun. Run pairs with this gun all day. It's not the trickiest pair in the world, but there's plenty of room for error whilst trying to shoot that B quick. That is a clay gun. That is all the confidence of shooting a clay gun, but with the barrels the other way round. I was going to say the wrong way round, the right way round, the other way round. If God had meant you to shoot it over and under your eyes, it'd been like that. It is a side-by-side clay gun. I've shot a few in my time. This is up there with just bizarre experiences while shooting a side-by-side. You pick it up and you go, it's an over and under. Everything about it feels like an over and under. That rib is so high that your barrels don't really even come into play. There's no sight reference that it's even a side-by-side, which is a good thing, right? Even on a flat rib side-by-side, a flat filed rib or something like that, you can still see those side-by-side barrels. If you're not used to it, it can be a little disconcerting. This monster, the Infinite RS, even the name means you best know how to use it, is pretty cool. We're going to spend a bit more time with this in the future, I've got that feeling. This is fun. This is no end of fun. That was a really interesting morning of shooting. Taking 3 guns where the action is the same. And for many years, people will just go, no, I don't like that action because it's like this. Nowadays, most actions will have different barrel sets and different wood sets that clip to it. And it changes the gun completely. The biggest benefit, I'd say, of this Classis Autumn Elite Infinite system, the Fabarm side-by-side system, is that seemingly big, strong action. Seemingly, it is a big, strong action, and the weight that it provides through that extra metal work there and in the forehead it steadies these guns up a lot, which is no bad thing. Also gives me great faith through banging thousands and thousands of rounds through them. You're not going to suffer the same problems as some of the lighter weight, slimmer guns. Picking a favourite would be difficult, and so I'm not gonna. You've got that Classis Grade 4, steady, simple, classic recipe of a side-by-side. Shoots with all the joy of a side-by-side should, simple, smooth. You've got that little 20 gauge, fun, punchy. It's the one you'd want to go and like take snap shooting every day of the week. Still can't believe that's a 30-inch barrel the way it handles. And the Infinite RS. I mean, guys, this is a new gun from Fabarm, and I can imagine seeing it at a lot of side-by-side comps, because this is a big advantage over taking something like an old Winchester Model 23, which is a great gun, but trying to find with long barrels that's in good order nowadays is really tough. If you want to go to a side-by-side competition and win, or at least have a huge advantage over the boys bringing their 8x8 number 4s, you wouldn't go far wrong with one of those. You know, any gun that makes you smile as much as this did me is no bad thing. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I'd love to know your thoughts. Is this appropriate? Should we be modernizing side-by-sides as much as this? I mean, I don't know. Yes is the answer, because otherwise over and unders are just becoming too dominant. Semi-automatics are pretty dominant. Side-by-sides coming to the party with a gun that can actually win competitions is pretty sick. Thank you for watching TGS Outdoors. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. This channel would not be possible without the support of our amazing sponsors. They've supported the channel for a long time. We only work with people we love and whose product we trust. If you want to support the channel too, make sure you check out channel memberships. There's early access content, there's some pretty cool exclusive release content.
My view is you never want to let the bird get past you because you can't see under your gun.
And occasionally we go clay shooting together. We just appreciate your support. Even if you can't, your view is great. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.